there was, I told you this, there was one person that was like, this couple went missing, and they were like, basically like, I don't know what type of drug they were on, but they were on some sort of drug that was like missing police report, like blood on the sheets. So it was crazy. We had to like cancel the next guest. Airbnb like penalized me for it. It was wild. All sorts, like, it was the cabin was turned into a police and like what's it called, a crime scene.
Crime scene.
Yeah, and like for 3 or 4 days.
I don't remember this. What's the 5 Ps? Do you remember it?
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go. It doesn't matter how much money we get. If we don't close, it's no money, right? So no close is no money. I'm everything that I am because of my dad's death. And I wouldn't be as successful without his death. Hello and welcome to the Jason Theory. We are on episode 16 and we are going to tackle house hacking for the newer buyers, kind of how to get involved in it. I've got a client, Lucas, here who actually is not only in the process of buying his second building, but bought his first building and inquired about buying a building, I want to say a day before the world shut down. And Lucas was not scared that everyone was going to cease to exist because of COVID, and he knew that people needed places to live and would not live on the street and would continue to need places to live. Took advantage of a great opportunity. And we're going to get into that and how people that are getting into the market that are younger are looking more at multi-units than condominiums and single-family homes when they don't have dependents, because it's a great opportunity to start making money and be financially free. So let's get into it. All right, Lucas, tell us, first off, how old you were when you made that call and decided to get in to kind of test the waters and see if you wanted to do investing.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me. I bought when I was 24, but in terms of when I first made the call, I realized early on that paying rent was a black hole. Just money went somewhere and never came back.
Well, it goes somewhere. You're paying down someone else's mortgage,
yeah,
so it's going
exactly.
somewhere.
So
you're making somebody rich.
Exactly. No, you're helping someone else own a house eventually.
So nice of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And all you other renters.
Benefits. Yeah, you get zero benefits out of it too. But no, I bought when I was 24. I realized early on that it was but it was probably a better move to buy. And the seed was first planted in my head like in 2017. So that made me 21.
Okay.
From a manager at an internship.
So what I think is interesting is that, you called me, I was on vacation, and when you called, I was actually watching the stock market drop like 30% because no one knew what the hell was going on. And you did not fear that, which is amazing. And now we have rates that went from, let's say, 3% to 7.5% and back to 5.5%. So we're right about 5.5% actually was yesterday on an FHA. And not bad. And how did you, because people are freaking out that they're paying 2 percentage points more than they would 6 months ago, and that is probably child's play compared to the thought process that was going on in your mind, and probably what friends told you were nuts. Your mom probably, I think she was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you kind of were like, she still says it. Okay, good. And you were like, okay, this is something that what's the mindset that made you feel okay to move forward right after COVID or during the heat of COVID and start getting involved in real estate?
Yeah, so to answer very directly, and then I can provide some context as well. The direct answer is you can't be nearsighted, and everyone's saying the rates are so high right now. They're very nearsighted because there's so many ways you can go about fighting your rate. You can refinance in a year or 2 years, and for everyone saying the rates are so high, they're so high compared to the past 10 years tops. If you look historically, they're not really all that high.
Yeah, at 5.5, we're kind of under where we've been over the last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. But to provide context, I didn't even know until right now that you're on vacation when I called you, but I was actually under contract for another building.
Yeah.
You're the third agent I spoke with. The first one bailed on me because he wanted to make an offer on the same property that he showed me.
I know, it's so scummy.
He's a clown. And then I found another agent who helped me write up the offer, got it accepted, but I just decided that like I wanted someone else with more experience. Someone recommended you, so I just called you, and I was like, I feel as if this is not the best move. When I say this, like buying that building, and you said a couple of things like, why are you going to buy a building that needs all this work, blah blah blah, and you were right. And then the building that I ended up buying was a building I had already found.
Yeah.
So we just moved
which
forward on that.
another one of my clients wanted to buy, which is crazy, and I'm like, oh, I know this building. I've been telling my client to buy it.
Yeah.
It's a legal 4 unit. They don't exist. Yeah, it's nuts. And I think that, to put the cart in front of the horse, you took advantage of a situation that I think you obviously don't have that situation now, but there is a little bit of uncertainty, which kind of creates some opportunities. But you took advantage of a crazy opportunity. And what I always tell people is, you bought that building, let's just use rough numbers, in the sixes. You're putting
625. I don't mind.
No, I'm just saying this. And you put 3.5% down. You buy FHA. You buy owner occupied, so you get unbelievable leverage, great financing. You live there for free. You have a renter. You have a roommate that's helping also pay even more of it. And because you bought in an uncertain time where other people didn't want to buy, within 2 years, you have enough equity to buy another building. And that is how it starts and how it rolls. And then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you create more equity and more buildings. And that's what we're trying to get young people and other people to do versus renting, because the numbers are the same.
Correct. So my roommate actually has since moved out, but it was good while I had him. But the other thing, like, I'm not any smarter than anyone else. I just trusted the process. I trusted the research I did, and then I didn't let the analysis paralysis trap me into not making a decision. Obviously, it was hard to pull the trigger during COVID. A lot of people, I think everyone basically told me not to do it, but some people still needed somewhere to live. Was there a risk that they wouldn't pay rent? Absolutely. But you have to trust yourself and like trust the process, and everything you just mentioned around like pulling equity out and appreciation and raising rents, like, did I know about all of that? Kind of at a high level, but you just go one step at a time, and eventually you're going to learn everything else. You learn about all the tax loopholes, you learn about working with contractors, things, so on and so forth. So like, you don't need to have all this information when you start.
No, people want to have all the answers, and it doesn't.
But you never have all the answers.
It doesn't matter how long you do this. It's a constant process of learning.
I bet you're still learning too.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just learning at this level, and I'm probably
just different things now, right? Like
exactly.
Getting into short term or doing this or finding this out or this out. I just think that a lot of problems, and it's not just being mid-20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, is a lot of people just, if it's not like black and white, are not willing to take that step, like that leap of faith. And if it was easy to take that leap of faith, the payout wouldn't be there, right? So it's everything is a measured risk in life, no matter, to the point of taking a left versus a right. Like, everything's a measured risk. And I just, sometimes people have to just say, hey, listen, I know this feels right. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. And not figure it out like get punished, but figure it out like the little nuances.
Correct.
What are some of the nuances for someone that's getting into house hacking or getting into doing what you did, that after like 3 months, you're like, a couple things that were like, oh, I never thought of that?
Yeah, so several things. I mean, even the most basic things. But
basic's not basic, because it's something that you didn't know.
But when I tell you this, you're probably gonna laugh at me. That's how stupid it is. I saw the property once. I saw that there was a yard. I went back for like 2-3 inspection and follow-ups. I saw that there was a yard. My dumb ass never realized I had to buy a lawnmower to mow the lawn until it was this tall and you could barely walk through it. So I know that's not the answer to the question, but like things like that you need to keep in mind. But in terms of like what you wish, or what I wish I knew, or things to keep in mind is, like you said, you need to build a strong foundation by running the numbers, making sure your rental income is where you want it to be to have that cash flow you're looking for. You can justify being below zero. You can definitely make a strong argument for wanting to be above, but you want to also, once you build that strong foundation, just trust that the rest will fall into place. You're not climbing the stairs and going from step 1 to step 10. So I wish I just also knew that I'll figure things out eventually. Like if one plumber sucks, then I can find another plumber. I don't need to have 20 plumbers in my contact list ready to go or 20 electricians. People are always willing on sharing that information, whether it's contractors or like advice for how to deal with tenants, whatever the case may be. It's just build the foundation through your research, through running the numbers, through looking at different buildings and inspection, and then trust that the rest will fall into place in the sense that you'll slowly start to learn things.
Yeah.
Does that answer your?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. So now you're looking, so let's talk. We got the building. The whole thing was, the process for what Lucas did and what people are doing is getting a great building that's been underserved. So we found a building, and we always try to find buildings that have long-time owners, rents are low. So when you look at it, and this I think is a process that as we're looking at the second building that we're always having, not issues with, but always looking at, all right, finding something where the rent should be. How long is it going to take us to get to the rents are, right? Because if you want to get something that's a deal, and maybe not a deal, but like that you can create equity, we got to find that building that doesn't make sense on paper, right? So to people that are looking to invest, if you look at a building and everything makes sense up front, you're probably paying a premium. Lucas found a building that had great structure, was unique in the fact that it was an oversized lot, was unique in the fact that it's a legal 4 unit, which is tough to find. And it was unique that the bones were good.
Yeah, all brick.
All brick, bones were good. And the footprint is nice too.
Big.
Which is nice, a big footprint because the oversized lot.
I got lucky. This had nothing to do with my skill, but
yeah, and but you try to replicate that. If they're out there, we try to replicate that. And then what you try to do is slowly, Lucas would live in units and he would make them nice, put, lipstick, but like renovations, light renovations that people liked, and then moves to another unit that's not as nice, and then starts that and then rents that out. And that's how you get the rents up. And when you get the rents up, it's just like a business, right? So if you have a building that's worth $625,000, it's making X amount in rent, and you raise the rent by 20% across the board, the building has now become worth 20% more. That's how the bank looks at it. So that's what Lucas did, and he was patient, and he has no dependents. This is the best time to do it because
Free
Lucas
bird.
he's free. This is when, and think about this, because money grows compound, and compound interest is like the seventh wonder of the world, as they say. When you're making this nest egg at such a young age, oh my Lord, by the time you're like in your mid 40s, forget it. It's lights out. You could have 20 or 30 buildings because you made these proper steps in the beginning. So now we're looking for our second building. And what?
Yeah, second, I don't know if you want to mention the Airbnb. But
Yeah, second building.
Well, no, I meant the one in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Well, he has an
Second in
Airbnb
Chicago.
down in Tennessee that's doing well.
But
now in Chicago, pulling the equity, getting everything ready, and having a good mortgage team and all the money ready, set to go. Where do you see yourself on this second building? You would kind of want to do a little bit more of Airbnb versus year-to-year rent, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to address one thing you actually said 30 seconds ago, like the
Sure.
whole thing with compounding, and I think that goes back to what I guess is becoming the theme of this discussion so far. Once you build that strong foundation through your research, time is another thing that will work in your favor. As you're working through different issues, as you're working through raising the rents, as you're working through tax returns, things like that, time is always helping you out. You're going to work every day, for example, but time is also helping your building appreciate. Rent is appreciating around your area, so yours are also going up, and that all contributes to it. And then before you know it, you might not have thought too much about it, but 2 years later, you're ready to pull cash out of the building you own, of the building you've been renovating and caring for, to buy another one. And you're probably saving money from your salary as well, but that building just buy you a building.
And you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want people to know, like, some people think I'm going to be working in my building 24/7, but
No, you work your job, so you in order of priority, gym or playing like sports and stuff, then you have to be thinking of the next investment, because if you're not thinking of what's next, you're staying still. And then maybe managing the ones you own. Sorry, I hit the mic.
No worries.
And then after that, your full-time job, because if my full-time job is number one, I'm never going to get out of that shit. So
yeah, so
I think of my full-time job at the end. I do enough to to be good. I used to do enough to be excellent. I realize it's not worth it. I do enough to be good.
Okay.
Slightly above average.
But your full-time job is feeding this nest egg, which is going to
Correct.
produce all of this wealth in the future.
And you buy one building and then you might save a bit. The building helps you buy something else. And now we have two buildings. They help keep each other afloat.
Yeah.
So now all the money you're saving can go towards something else. And then like there's three of them that are all supporting each other. And they're also helping you buy another one. And then it's a snowball effect, right? So like it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it stops whenever.
And I think a
you
lot
get
of things
bored.
we always have discussion on is that when you start over leveraging, not in a bad sense, but when you're leveraging the first building to pay for the second building, the amount of money you make on a month-to-month basis may be zero or net negative. However, it's not net negative because you're paying down principal.
Correct.
And that principal is money that comes back to you and creates equity. So like when you start really leveraging to do more houses and more houses and more houses, the amount of money that comes in on a monthly basis stops because that monthly money is feeding all the other buildings. So you've got this monster that's coming, at you, and it's all feeding itself.
Yeah, so to put it very simply, let's say you find something that rent plus rent plus rent plus rent is $200 less than your expenses, all in taxes, insurance, mortgage, so on and so forth. That doesn't mean you're losing $200. And I know this is stuff we talk about a lot.
Yeah, no,
recently.
it's fine to talk about it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're losing $200 per month. It means you're paying $200 per month over the next 30 years, let's say, to keep it as a simple example. And then once those 30 years are up, you're going to own whatever that building is.
Yeah, you own $1 million building
Correct.
for $200
So
a month.
200 times 12 is what, 2,400?
And that's
times
assuming
30?
there's never any rent appreciation ever.
Exactly.
Which is not going to happen either.
Yeah, and then to answer your original question that sent us down this rabbit hole
Yeah.
of what I'm looking for next, I want it to be something in a bit nicer of an area, Logan Square and further east. Ideally Lincoln Park, if I'm being honest, but obviously it's not that easy. And I don't know, 2+ units that can be either combo Airbnb, short-term rental and long-term rental, or fully short-term rental. And the reason I'm saying that is just because I think there's a lot more money to be made in the short-term rental area. It's more work, but there's a lot of automation tools out there that can help you, elevate it and not spend too much
On your
time
short-term rental in Tennessee,
Yeah.
in terms of automating it, you just basically have a bunch of apps that send out the booklets, that send all the stuff out, and you do that, you manage that from here. But you've got a boots on the ground. You got a guy in Tennessee too, though. But that handyman.
Yeah, so I have someone who I can call to go and do repairs. Obviously, we have a cleaner. So to be very honest, the Tennessee one, I have 50-50 with my brother. But yeah, there's two apps. One's for dynamic pricing, so it automatically adjusts your pricing. I could be more hands-on with it if I wanted to. Honestly, like with everything else I have going on, it's a little harder. I manage the prices. It's just I'm not in there like every day, every 2 days.
Yeah, but it's still functioning.
Yeah, it does it for me, correct. And then there's another app that like I pre-populate all the different communications I want sent, and they send them. And like the reviews we get are like, oh, great communication, very hands-on, blah, blah. I haven't sent the text. I haven't typed a text unless there was a problem in who knows how long, but because it's all automated and it's set to just remind guests when they're checking out or checking like how you doing, blah, blah, like they think it's great. And
Were you nervous buying out of state?
Not really. My thought process is I don't want anything to depend on me. Like if I die tomorrow, I don't want, like everything should just go like this, like as if I was never around.
Well, it's easy when you're not married and you don't have kids.
Correct.
No one will miss you.
Exactly. But no, what I was more nervous of was I was relying on a realtor who obviously, in my opinion, is nowhere near as good as you, to just go and like tell me things that I couldn't see through showings. Like he would just send videos of it, and like I can get a decent amount of stuff from videos. But for example, for this one we bought, he went up and down the stairs and on the deck and never said anything about it. The inspection, the deck was like a huge issue, and it was like the next snowfall this deck is going to go down. And then when I was going up the stairs I noticed it as well. So like stuff like that is what made me nervous, because I can be putting in an offer and then next thing I know, like I have $20,000 in expenses that some clown didn't pick up on.
Yeah.
But in terms of owning out of state, no, it doesn't bother me, because I want to move to a situation where I can be in one part of the world and I have something in another part and everything can go like clockwork.
Was it easier to buy something out of state having gone through the 4-flat here?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just buying, it's everything about that process. So it was owning, repairing, managing, so on and so forth. obviously the second time you do something, it's easier than the first, even if it's not the same exact like thing.
Tell me the funniest story you've gotten from one of your tenants at the
Across-
last couple. No, here the last couple. Yeah,
In Chicago or in Tennessee?
Oh, either or.
Tennessee, I've had some clowns.
All right, tell me Tennessee. Well, it's Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
So people that like
People turn their so people are pretty stupid naturally, and then when they're on vacation, they just completely turn the 3 brain cells they had left on. They turn them off.
Okay, tell me. We'll do 2 best stories, one there and one here.
Okay.
Unless you have like multiple great ones.
I have some.
All right, multiple great
I have
ones.
some bangers.
All right,
yeah.
Okay, go.
There was I told you this. There was one person that was like, this couple went missing, and they were like basically like, I don't know what type of drug they were on, but they were on some sort of drug. There was like missing police report, like blood on the sheets. So it was crazy. We had to like cancel the next guest. Airbnb like penalized me for it. It was wild. All sorts like it was the cabin was turned into a police what's it called, a crime scene.
Crime scene.
Yeah, and like for 3 or 4 days.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, I told you about it. Meanwhile, I was in Peru. I was trying to hike Machu Picchu, Salcande Trek, and this was going on. My brother was at work, and we're trying to figure all this out. The detective is calling us, like trying to get our video surveillance, like see what was like, because that was the last time they were seen alive. So, yeah.
Bro, well, hold up. What happened?
What happened?
Did they ever find these? Hold up. Were they murdered in your place?
No, they weren't murdered in my place. So
What was the blood?
I have no clue. They
didn't take any samples?
They took the whole sheet with them to the police station, and I have no clue what happened. Quite frankly, I don't really care. I just don't want I don't want my listing to be penalized. I don't want no money lost.
Just don't
and I
give-
don't want
don't
no
give me
negative
1
reviews.
star.
Correct. Aside from that, go kill yourself somewhere else. I couldn't care less.
But there was no resolution. You don't know what happened to these people.
So they were found like 4 hours away, living. Like they were saying. I don't
But these
know
are
what-
guests.
Guests. This person had 3 5-star reviews. I don't accept anyone off the street. Like, we vet the people before they come in. This person had 3 5-star reviews. So 5 stars are the max in case people don't know how it works. But this person had 3 5-star reviews, and this is what they did to me.
And that's that. And they found them.
Yeah, they found them. They were like, whatever, all good. They're just going back to their house.
Now the people that were going to be the next time, we had to
call
text
them.
them and go like, we
Yeah,
don't
we're
know
like-
if someone's been killed?
No, we said it's an active police investigation. Like, we know that this sucks for you, and it sucks for us too, because like we wanted to host you.
Why would Airbnb penalize you on that?
Because Airbnb doesn't care. Airbnb is very, very, very host unfriendly, very, very, very guest friendly.
Okay. Sounds like Chicago.
Yeah, there's sounds like a few other states as well.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and like I was fighting Airbnb for a month and a half after that to get all the money back, because like we needed new sheets, we needed new comforters, we needed to like.
Well, I thought they have an insurance policy.
Correct, but for that insurance policy to pay you out, you need to go through go to hell and back for them
that's good
to
to
pay
know.
you. Yeah, I had everything, so like it worked, but I was like, I don't know, I'm intense, you know that. So, obviously that probably didn't.
That's amazing. So what's the second one?
The second one's a more recent one. We had all the answers. We have a guest guide, and my brother and I obviously like we work long hours at times too. So we're like, we need to make sure this guest guide is robust so that they can have everything in there. This person did not read the guest guide at all, and they just started asking us all these questions like, "Oh, how do you operate the fireplace?" I was like, "It's in the guest guide," and like just a bunch of stupid questions, one after the other, after like literally blew our phone up. And then this person goes and leaves us a review. This is the longest review we ever got, like this long, just with every problem that existed. And then they say, but they helped us through everything, so I guess it was okay, and they gave us 5 stars every. I was like, for what? Like, who's gonna sit there and read 25 lines of a review? But whatever, I got the 5 stars, so I don't really care.
All right, tell me a good one. And I don't like that story. That story
No?
sucked.
Okay.
I like the murder story.
I should have started with the second one, and then.
You gotta start the crap first.
Yeah.
And tell me like.
You remember the 2 guys you helped me find for one of the units for the previous owner, for where the previous owner used to live? So these guys so I had 2 guys, and they would blast music.
Oh yeah, those
nonstop.
Guys.
So I wasn't here. I was visiting a friend in Dallas when this happened, but I got a call from like the tenant below them, saying like there was this huge altercation. So basically the tenants below got the broom and started banging the ceiling above so that they can stop playing music, and then they went outside and like started fist fighting apparently.
They started fighting?
Yeah. And then like I follow up with the other guys. I was like, what's going on? They're like, oh, we don't know what they're talking about. Our fire alarm went off. We just turned it off. and it was all good. Like nothing else happened. And then I'm like, look, you guys need to get out of here. I'm not renewing your lease. If you want to leave early, I'll let you out the lease early. I'll refund you whatever rent you have.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
But you're out.
Because the RTLO sucks. Correct. For owners.
Yeah. So I was very careful with the wording. This was the second version.
Yeah.
But that was probably the worst one here. And like the whole point of this story too, I think if there's a message to take out of this is if you have good tenants, you shouldn't be trying to squeeze every last penny out of them. Give them $50, maybe $100 under market to keep them in there if they're good.
Good tenants are worth their weight in gold.
Correct. So you should try to incentivize it a bit. If they're good and you know they're good, try to incentivize them to stay and show them that you're incentivizing them to stay by saying like, hey, this is market, this is what I can do because you're good, because I like you, because you take care of the place, so on and so forth. And just be clear and transparent.
Yeah, open communication is huge.
Yeah.
And the minute that the tenant is like, I don't want to be here or this, I'm always like, leave.
Yep.
Here's your money, leave. Because if disgruntled tenant is by far the worst thing ever.
I agree.
So where do you see yourself? Obviously, we all want to see ourselves, with 7,000 buildings, this or this, but you just said something, and you're talking about walking in Peru, the mountains. I mean, do you want to get to a point where you've got 20 units, 30 units, and you're just like, I'm just going to manage those units and live my life and play soccer and be good and watch World Cup? Like where do you see yourself?
Very good question. I don't know. I try.
How old are you now?
I'm 27.
Yeah. So you're not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
You're gonna have possibly by the end of January, hopefully, your third piece of real estate.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
And then just continuing. When are you gonna buy a place for yourself? Or that's just
what, for me to settle down?
Yeah.
Everyone likes to throw shade at me about.
Yeah.
Man, screw that. What am I gonna go buy a single family home to do? What? Look at the walls.
Yeah, it's true. Especially if you're traveling and stuff.
Yeah. So for work right now, I'm traveling like Sunday to Thursday, which
Yeah.
The biggest problem I'm trying to solve, which I haven't solved in 4 months going on, is I am taking up $1,500 of rental income from myself because I need someone to sleep for 3 days a week. Anyway, so to answer your question, where do I see myself? I don't know. What I do know is I want to move to a model, slowly, I guess, transition to a model where I don't have to trade an amount of time for an amount of money.
Yeah.
And ideally, I would also like to, when it is time to work,
money buys time. Everyone
digitally.
thinks that money buys things. It's not, buys time. And when you can buy time, that's happiness.
Once you realize that,
the world. That's what you want. You want to buy time.
Correct. So I want to move into a more of a model of like whenever I can go wherever I want, and all I need to take with me is a computer and a charger, and I can make my money that way. I can communicate with people that way. I can manage things that way. I guess my phone as well. But you get the point.
I get the point.
So that's where I want to go. But in terms of where I see myself, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the U.S. or outside the U.S. I don't know if it's living in a nice 3-bedroom apartment with 55 toilets and 25 pool tables,
or an attic.
Or an attic with no insulation and mooching off someone else's heat. I just need somewhere to store my crab. A little
awesome.
hub somewhere in the world, and aside from that, I'm good.
Well, this was great. Just to kind of wrap things up, you've got a guy at 24 years old that kind of looked at the situation that was happening, realized everyone would have to live somewhere still. Life wasn't stopping. Took, as Kierkegaard said, that leap of faith, bought his first building, then bought a building, an Airbnb cabin in Tennessee that's doing well. Within 2 years, had over $200,000 of equity from just doing slight renovations to increasing rents, and now is going to be buying his third building. We're looking at stuff this weekend. It's impressive. I'm very impressed with Lucas. He's done a phenomenal job. And anyone that listens to this, it's just taking that first step and not being scared and realizing that when you're paying rent, you're paying a mortgage. It's just not yours. You're making people like Lucas rich. And don't make Lucas rich, make yourself rich.
I agree 100%.
And rich is not the right word. Just creating wealth and like you said, which is so eloquent, and I see all the time on Instagram and TikTok. It's create wealth to make time.
Correct.
And I think that's the most important is time, because that's the one thing that you can't make more of, but you can situate yourself where you can have more time for yourself.
Completely agree. So I guess in closing, thank you first of all for having me. And
oh, nice. So formal.
Yeah, but if, this was fun. Like every conversation you have with someone, like you learn something. I mean, not every, but like there's people who have a brain in their head. You take away things from the conversation. So this was fun.
Yeah, and I think people will listen to this and be like, okay, I can do it, because I
hope I don't know nothing.
I have a couple people that were at the same time as you, and everyone's like, I want to do multi, and then halfway through it, they're like, oh, and you know what? They always get talked out. It's
by
their parents.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing, because as a parent, if my kid was like, I want to buy a multi-unit so I can live there, live for free.
Parents don't know what they don't know, but they assume that they know it.
Fuck you. Well, first off, I'm going to tell my kid to do that anyways. But I'd be like, fuck yeah. And it just, but some of these people come from real, and people that say no, their parents are in real estate. Like, oh, we don't want you to have the headaches that we have.
Yeah, it's
but
about
those headaches created wealth for you.
Correct.
I don't understand that.
Correct.
It's so
you
bizarre.
bring up two good points, and I think I'm going to get you started on when I say the second point. But first of all, like, is it hard? Yes. Does it take work? Yes. Is it going to maybe keep you up at night sometimes? Yes. Is it worth it? 100%. And the second thing is, like, if you want to let your parents or your friends or whoever talk you out of something, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need to remember that you're living your life, and no one's going to freaking die for you, and no one's going to sit there next to you and live your death. So do whatever you want to do, because at the end of the day, you're going to look back and regret all the people that you let in, or you're going to regret letting everyone else influence the decisions you made.
There's no bunk beds in a cemetery.
Yeah.
I heard that yesterday, and I was like,
good.
damn, that's good.
Yeah.
To live your own life, because there's no bunk beds when you die.
100%.
Yeah.
People don't get that.
Oh. Well, hopefully they will after this. All right. Thank you so much. It was fantastic. Lucas, thanks for your time again. We'll be dropping this in the next couple of weeks. Definitely subscribe to the podcast. We're also on YouTube if you want to subscribe,
notification bell, everything.
YouTube if you want to see our beautiful Greek faces, or at least Lucas's, not mine.
Nah, I'm dressed up to match you. And I put deodorant on just for you.
Oh my God!
No, I'm kidding.
Like a good Greek. All right. Before this goes sideways, thanks to God. We'll see you guys soon.